Hello, welcome to part 2 of how to use a great system to copy from a photograph, copy from a master's painting or drawing, or to enlarge your own drawings, okay? So on the first part of the video, I showed you how to use a clear acetate or any sheet of plastic to transfer the image. And what I'm going to do now is that I found a piece of paper that is of similar proportion to the one that I am copying. It's very important that we get the proportion right. So if your paper is square, you're gonna use, if your image is square, you're gonna use a square paper. And if you've got a rectangle, you have to have a rectangle as well. If not, you can just chop it up a little bit with masking tape to make it of the same size. I'm actually realizing as I'm talking to you, no, it should be actually okay. So it more or less has to respect the same proportion, otherwise, it will be a bit distorted. So now what I'm going to do is that I am going to measure this and I'm going to replicate the same grid that I had over there. So this one measures 24.5, that's 275, 1225, okay, and I'm gonna make a little thingy there. And then this one over here is 37 and I got 18. So now what I'm going to do I'm using charcoal, guys, but it depends on what you're going to do afterwards. So if you want to, I don't know, do it on pastel afterwards, you might want to use pencil to do this. It just depends what you're planning on doing. Yeah, but you can use charcoal, pencil, or any other material that you want. So then from here, I'm going to take this measurement over here, 12.5. So I will be half of that is 625. And then I'm gonna do the same thing there. 625.
I'll skip through all this and
Hey?
I'll just cut and go to the finished one and then explain what we've done.
Okay. Okay. So my piece of paper now looks exactly the same as the grid. To make sure that you've got the proportion right in terms of the paper that you're copying to the paper that you're using, you just have to look at the shape of the rectangle. And if it looks pretty much the same, then it means that you've got it right. So, to the important bit. You're gonna have to come closer. So, what I need to do now is find the points. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm going to be organized and work in this order. I'm first going to do this square, then that one, then this one, then that one, then that row, then that row, and then that row. It's really important that you follow that order, and that's to prevent smudging, basically. So the first thing I'm going to do is look for this point. Okay, I don't know if you can see it properly. I'm going to leave the ruler there so you can see that my grid is finishing there. So I have to ask myself and think about it, not just look at it, and say, where is that point located in this line? Is it halfway through that line? Or is it a little bit to the right, or is it a little bit to the left? I would say that that's precisely halfway through that line. So now I'm going to come to this line, which is the same as that one, because first rectangle is my first rectangle. And I'm going to make a point where that one is. Yeah? Secondly, I'm going to find this point over here and I'm gonna put that there, and I'm gonna look at it objectively, and it pretty much looks as well, because that's finishing there, pretty much looks as well as this bang on the middle. So I'm gonna find bang on the middle of this one, and it will be about there. Okay, and then I've got another point that is kind of low on the line. So here I have to ask myself, where is that? Is it halfway through halfway? No, it's quite lower down, yeah? So it's about it's about a third down. So 1, 2, 3, it would be about here. And then I've got this point, and this point is what I normally call lost in space. So how do I find this one? I'm going to show you with the Sharpie. You don't need a Sharpie to do this, but I'm going to show it to you so that it's clearer on here. So I'm just going to make a dotted line. Yeah? So this is going to help you find it. And basically what you need to do is, if you follow this point all the way to the end of the grid, then you can evaluate where that is. So to see this again, I'm gonna go back to half the way. So half the way is here, and then I can see that is halfway through halfway, if that makes any sense at all. So I'm gonna guide this one to the end, and then I'm gonna find halfway of that, and I'm gonna mark a point here, yeah? And then I'm gonna come over here, and I've got that dot that I've already got it. And now I can see that this part and that part are pretty much the same. There's a tiny bit of a difference, and that part is a little bit bigger. So I'm gonna find halfway through that, then a tiny bit bigger, and I'm gonna mark a point. And now all I need to do is do like that, and do like that very faintly, and I've got my point in space. And I can just erase those guidelines now. Yeah. So what I need to do now is to join the dots. I've showed you all the dots in one go, but normally what I ask students to do is to do one dot, and then join it, and then one dot, another dot, and then join it. Because sometimes if I have too many dots, I can get confused to what I'm doing. So it's better to do point, point, line, point, point, line. So now all I have to do is try to replicate the line as similar as I can. And ask myself, is the line, so this one, let's say, is curving upwards a wee bit, and then it comes down. Yeah, and it's a little bit wobbly. And that's pretty much it. So now for the second one, I've got this point is already here, so there's no other points in here, so I can just move on to my next rectangle. And then I've got one that is pretty close to the top. So pretty close to the top is about there. And now all I have to do is join them. Now I have to observe this line as carefully as I can, and how more or less I have to suss out that it's kind of going down pretty gently, and then it goes down steeply. So if I figure out this point first before I start drawing, I'm gonna make my life a little bit easier. So I'm gonna go down, and then from here onwards I'm gonna go quite steep down. And then you look at it, and I would say, does this look the same? And it's like, it's not too good. No, you can do better. So I would erase it. And that looks a lot better. Okay, so then I've got this one here, and we've already learned about how to find points in space, but I'm going to do it again just in case, because it's something that people sometimes find complicated. So I've got the first one is just above this dot that I've already got. So I've already got that dot. I'm just gonna go above it. Oh no, sorry, it's this dot here. Slightly above it, and I'm gonna make a mark. And then this one, I'm gonna map halfway first, and I can tell that it's more or less halfway through halfway. So halfway through halfway is about here. So now I'm gonna make a little guideline and a little guideline there, and I've got my dot. And this one finishes over here. So I'm just going to join it, observing the line. Oh, I got it a little bit wrong. I'm going to erase it. This is why charcoal is really nice. because if you make mistakes, you can always correct them really easily. Okay, that's it. And then I've got this one over here, and that I don't really need to do halfway or anything. It's just really, really close to that. So I'm just gonna make it pretty close to that. Replicate the line, double check that the angle is right. It looks pretty good. And then I've got my little dotted line to see where the trunk begins. So it's starting from about here and then it finishes there. So what I'm gonna do is that more or less I'm gonna get the height of it. It's a little bit, see, it's all about comparing things to other things. So it's quite close to this dot over here. So that's about the height. And then it goes all the way to here, but it doesn't go all the way down to there. So it's pretty much like this and like that. Okay, so now I can move on to my next one. Okay, so as you saw, I done square by square. I respected the order that I showed you right at the beginning. And once I finished, at the end, I erased all of the grid. And then I went over my marks in a more strong way just to finish it off. So that would be my line drawing done. So after that, you would be doing your mark making for tone. And if you need any help with mark making for tone, you can look at one of the previous videos that I have made that give you lots of tips on how to make mark making both in pencil and in charcoal. So let's say you would be continuing to work in charcoal, you would continue to do all of the mark making for tone, and then once you finish doing that, you would fix it with hairspray, and then you can paint straight on top of it with acrylic if you would like. And if you're doing it in pencil, I would recommend to just erase it just a little bit so that you get a faint mark, but not a very, very strong mark. And then you can go over it with chalk pastel, oil pastel, pencils, marker pens, or any other material that you want to use. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I really look forward to seeing the results of what you guys get up to using this method. And yeah, you can use it in any format that you want. So if you want to use a really, really big scale paper, you can also do it. So it's a really, really good method to upscale and copy. And I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Take care, everybody. Bye bye.